when you land in AppDynamics, our customers or an APM user, they are used to have an abstraction on how they look at things. They look at applications, they look at services, they look at business transactions. Those are the paradigms they use to evaluate their data. When you look in AppD, that's what you get. Now, that context isn't in logs. They normally sit in the application side. And when you went to your logs, you couldn't see it. So it was hard to find your data when you're troubleshooting. Now, with our integration with Splunk, we can actually start carrying that context from the application world to the logs world and accelerate troubleshooting scenarios. So first, like you land here, here's our famous flow map. And you can see right there at the top, it's real. There is a button there. View logs in Splunk.
I'm double checking, it's not a Figma demo.
It's not a Figma demo. It is not a Figma demo.
It's a live
URL is real. So you can see here that in AppDynamics, I'm evaluating the last 2 hours, right? This is the last 2 hours. And I'm going to go and say view logs in Splunk. Now, 2 things have happened. Did you notice I didn't log in?
No.
Right. Did you not announce single sign-on?
I think so.
There you go. So the fact that you went from A to B and you didn't have to create another identity and log in, it's because our unique identity and SSO is working. So our single sign-on, it's tested.
It's
check.
working. Check.
Right. So I landed, the only context I gave Splunk was my application name. Well, that's basically evaluating the log records for all the services, all instances running in my application right now. It gave us about 500,000 records. Do you want to sift through 500,000 records? Or no?
Nobody has the time for that.
Yeah, we don't. So we need a little more digging.
Okay.
So let's go back. Let me close here. Well, another way to look at this is if I'm a service owner, I'll probably be looking at the logs that belong to my service only, right? So for AppDynamics, that abstraction, it's called tiers and nodes. Tiers is the equivalent of a service. Node is an instance of that service. So if you're running a cluster with multiple instances, you will have all those nodes. So as a developer, I might have a problem with a given node, and then I want to see the records just for that service in that node. So let's look at the node. In AppDynamics, we provide you the context, right? You land here, we'll tell you, here's the node. As you can see, here we go again. There's view logs in Splunk. Different context, deeper, same 2 hours. View logs in Splunk. So now we're about 18,000.
Still too much, Renato.
Come on, man, 18,000. You can do this. Right?
Better than before, but still too much.
All right, okay.
But before we go any further, it's interesting. What is this that we see here in the SPL console?
Oh, very, very nice perception of you. As you know, if you're a Splunk user, the way, if you don't have AppDynamics, right, you're sifting through information using a very powerful query language called SPL. So what you see here on the top is the integration allows us to transfer context data through SPL. So when you land in the UI, it built the SPL query for you that can carry the information from AppD into the logs, and you can find your logs there. So that's what it's doing. And it's still usable here. You can see that on the left. See AppD node name, AppD request ID. All that metadata, it's carried automatically by our agents into the logs. So you don't need to worry about it. It will be there. Okay?
Awesome. Now, I think there's something called as business transaction that every one of the AppD customers is so familiar with.
It is.
I really want to see that business transaction go into logs.
All right. So, yes, business transactions are a way for us to aggregate data across services. So instead of you monitoring individual services, they can be on the, around thousands sometimes or hundreds of thousands. In business transactions, you're managing a business flow. And what that allows you is actually to control and look at problems from a business perspective. So your conversation about the boardroom, you can now represent those important business flows into your application, and then you focus your observability from that angle. So you will focus your troubleshooting like you want.
Yep.
So if I go back to AppDynamics, I come here and I see my business transactions, right? These are the important flows that we are monitoring. And I can see some yellows and some reds, which is not good. So let's pick the add card here, because I see there are errors there. So I want to look at those. When I bring that up, And it automatically goes to the list of the individual transactions that had issues, right? So I'm going to pick one of them, any of them. When I open up, AppDynamics starts giving me insights about what is it that it could be the problem. And as you can see here, I see if he logs in Splunk again. So now I want to troubleshoot. I want to see exactly what the service went through. When I click now, well, now you're going to notice I have 12 records. And come on, 12 you can do.
That is manageable. That is awesome.
Right. So
we went from, was it 400,000?
Yep.
400,000 to 18,000 to 12.
Correct.
All with the context that we're passing from AppDynamics in the right console, in the right screens to Splunk.
Yep.
And we're still able to use the entire spectrum of the SPL commands when we're in the Splunk console.
If you want so, yes.
So tell us more in terms of how are we getting the data into Splunk?
Right. Coming data into Splunk is very straightforward. If you are a Splunk user, you already got all the infrastructure that you need. All you really need to do is, there's 2 steps in the configurations. One is to create an index, which all Splunk users know how to do. And then the second one is just to configure our agent to connect to the controller to connect to the Splunk tenant you have. So basically, 2 steps. If you got that already, and if you're already sending your records, once you turn on our agent, they're going to start being marked, and you can use it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Renato.
You're welcome.
Always
Take care.
a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. See ya.